This is James Mathers at NAB 2018 for the Digital Cinema Society and New Bay Media. I'm here in the Tiffen booth. We're going to talk about Steadicam with Garrett Brown. But Garrett Brown is in Philadelphia. Why? Well, he had a little injury. He couldn't make it this year. He's phoning it in, literally phoning it in, with the help of Josh Apter. Josh is operating the Padcaster, his invention. So let's proceed with the interview. Garrett, can you tell us about the Volt?
Well, I'd be delighted. I think that it's becoming increasingly clear that since the original invention 44 years ago, this is the most significant advance in Steadicam operating in all that time, which is absolutely amazing to me, but delightful at the same time. And the evidence is pouring in. This is something that operators, and they exist in their thousands all around the world, I think will be really excited to see. And the reason is it deals with a fundamental compromise that we made 44 years ago, and we've all mastered living with this compromise. May I explain? Yes?
Please do.
Chris can graphically demonstrate, I think, that a Steadicam has always been operated in a slightly bottom-heavy mode. And the reason is, although neutral balance, watch this. This is without the Volt being turned on, I presume, Chris, yeah?
This is without the Volt.
Without the Volt.
So it's bottom heavy and it's pendulating.
If it's bottom heavy, at least when you look away and you look back to it, it will be more or less in the same attitude. If it's neutral and you look away to deal with errant extras and wild dogs on the set and whatever else is happening, and you look back and it's off level and not aimed where you want it. So we've had to deal with this enormous slow pendulum for 40 years. And always we dreamed of finding some way to operate neutral. And my genius buddy and co-inventor Steve Wagner came to us some years ago with software that looked very promising to this exact point. And now, for the first time, watch this rig. We're able to operate in neutral balance. Show that neutral again, Chris, before you fire it up. Chris Fawcett is my esteemed colleague, a great operator, the inventor of the exovest, which he is wearing, and a huge contributor to the Steadicam art. So here we are. Here's a rig that's neutral, and as you can see, if you look away from that baby, it will just do whatever it wants to do, right? He's looking away. It's doing what it wants to do. However, when you switch on the M1 Volt, and the Volt, let me just say this, wait. We have applied gyro smarts to the gimbal of the Steadicam. Our humble, great old mechanical gimbal now has motors on two of the axes, the two that count, roll and tilt, and a marvelous little gyro sensor pack up on the rig. And that informs these motors so that seamlessly, invisibly, they improve your operating. They upgrade you a grade or two as an operator, because the motors watch out for level, even if you're distracted and doing something else. And the motors make it feel like it's bottom heavy and tilt, even though it isn't. So it feels exactly the way we're used to. It weighs a couple of pounds. It's right at the gimbal, so it does not affect your build for the Steadicam or the trim. Doesn't cause weight to be added above the gimbal, which is a terrible nightmare. And so the rig can be as short as you like, and yet when you flip this on, he's flipped it on.
Flip it on, Chris.
Flip it.
Suddenly, this sucker maintains level. Yes, you can Dutch it if you want, but it's fiercely fighting to be level, and you can adjust that to be as strong or as weak or as ardent as you wish. And so the moves that we make, where we always had to have a huge circuit, a learned, trained circuit to keep things level, we can now make these moves and concentrate on the move itself. We can tilt up, and the rig maintains its tilt. There's a little button on the rig right by the gimbal. When you push that button, it just hangs at the tilt angle you select. When you push that button again, it is now bottom heavy again and returns to the trim that you've selected. These are pure, solid, platinum operating aids. So we like to jokingly say that a newbie, a new operator, is not bad immediately with the Volt. And a good operator is an ace. And an ace operator, a master operator, becomes God with this rig. So all the reports that are flowing in are that this baby is indispensable. The M1 Volt applies modern software and brushless motor technology to the humble old 1,000-year-old gimbal. And suddenly the Steadicam, after all these years, becomes even better, an even more responsive tool for operating. So we're actually, if I had some champagne here, I'd pop a cap and raise a glass to all of us, because we're about to have some grand fun with this. And look what Chris just did. He just flipped to low mode, which now has no balancing implication. The rig seamlessly now knows it's in low mode, which is lens at the bottom of the gimbal. So without rebalancing, without moving the gimbal, in literally a fraction of a second, a 3/4 or a half a second, you're suddenly in low mode. And although, yes, there's a discrete cut to be made, God, what a treat this is. I only regret that I stopped operating in 2004, because I'd love to have a serious go at this with money on the table and see what I could have made of some of the shots that I've made in my long career. Chris, do you have anything to add to this? Chris has made some very eloquent videos about the Volt.
Not as eloquent as you, my dear. When I picked it up this morning, I immediately had the sensation that I have if I've been working on a movie that I love for a few weeks, working 10 hours a day with a director I love, making shots that I love, and I'm at the top of my game, where every single thing I do is just great. And I have not operated for about 2 weeks, and I picked it up this morning, put it on, and that's the way I felt. It's like having the hand of God on your gimbal, just looking after the boring stuff, or the hand of Garrett, perhaps. Same thing, really. But I have to think about 4 things when I'm operating Steadicam. I have to think about the composition. What's the composition? I have to think about the narrative. Where's the story going? I have to think about my navigation. Where am I going to take my next steps to? And then I have to think about the horizon. Oh my God, is the horizon okay? And I cycle around that. And the first 3 delightful things are what I want to do with Steadicam. And the last thing is a shock. It's like an electric shock through me every time I think, am I level? Am I level? And when I'm watching the movie in the theater and I see it going off by a few degrees, I just want to die. I want to sink down in my seat. So what the Volt does, it takes care of the most boring part of Steadicam and allows me to put all of my attention into the 3 things that I love about Steadicam. And there's no other instrument for moving the camera that is more like the human perspective than a Steadicam.
Thank you, Chris.
My God, that was well said, Chris. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's really perfect. That's really good.
And thank you so much, Garrett. Hey, everybody, let's hear it for Garrett Brown, the inventor of the Steadicam.
Wow.
Thank you, sir.